Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. Enjoy the video. See you at the end.
Your Honor, I'm also here. I represent Mr. Wells. I apologize. It was my understanding from the conversations with the clerk that this entire motion hearing was supposed to be via Zoom. Not only that, but part of the reason we requested this to be via Zoom, one is because Mr. Wells is in Utah. The other is because the minor child already has truancy issues and she's now missing 2 days of school.
Gunner, I did see those emails about Mr. Wells being in Utah, and I thought my recollection was that the court granted special permission for Dr. Wells to be present by Zoom due to his being 2,000 miles away. That was my understanding, but we're here, whatever I mean, it is what it is at this point. We're here and present in the courtroom.
How long do you think this is going to take?
I expect both of the parties will testify, and we are also dealing with a almost 17-year-old child now.
Well, I'm very familiar with this case.
Your Honor, can I request that the child please be removed from the courtroom while we have these discussions until she has to testify?
She'll need to go outside.
Yeah, that's fine. Right? But I would expect this to take a couple of hours.
Judge, first off, this is my motion, not Mr. Sanders. Second of all, I do not expect this to take a couple hours. We've been before you numerous times. This is a very simple motion that does not need a couple hours. My hope is that we could be done with this in 30 minutes. Mr. Sanders apparently has other ideas. He never responded to our motion, so I have no clue what his argument is or his opposition to this motion is.
Judge, I had a response prepared to provide to them, but they're not here. I have it to file. Essentially, what our position is that the child is 17 years of age, about to be a senior, has lots of activities that require her time during the summer to get ready for her senior year.
You need to, so that Ms. Rosen can hear you, you need to speak at the podium. So.
Yes, Your Honor. I have our response here, and essentially, it's our position that this court has already found in its order from July of last year that estrangement existed between this father and daughter, and it ordered some counseling. It's our position that unfortunately that condition has not improved. Over that period of time, that estrangement still exists today. And again, we're dealing with a child who is almost 17 years old now. She will be 17, I think, in May, about to be a senior, a very bright child, preparing for her senior year, preparing for college, taking steps toward that. And her father, lives 2,000 miles away. And this visitation for the summer is obviously interfering with many of the things that she has planned for the rest of her high school career and beyond.
Let me first address the issue. Ms. Rosen, are you objecting to this hearing going forward because of the fact that your client is on Zoom and Mr. Sanders and his client are here?
No, Your Honor, I have no objection to that.
What are you asking on behalf of your client to do about the schedule?
Your Honor, similar to what we decided first, Your Honor, I just want to state you're very well acquainted with this case. I'm very well acquainted with this case. Mr. Sanders is clearly not very well acquainted with this case because he's talking about facts that are inaccurate, including this estrangement and this sudden new order for therapy. As you know, that order for father-daughter therapy has been in place for quite some time now. As you know, there is discord between the minor child and father for a plethora of reasons, majority being mother's actions. What we're asking is a very similar schedule to what you ordered last May of 2024. So it's going to be one weekend in June, a week in July, and then one other week in July. And that last week in July, which you'll see in our motion, Judge, and I can tell you those dates if you'd like, is going to be in Utah, but similar to your last order, which was 4 days. This is going to also be 4 days. With the travel time, it will come out to the child will be in Utah for 4 days. Travel and then she'll be back in Tennessee. So we're asking for an very similar schedule to what you ordered last time. And then the other thing that we're asking for is just some provisions based on the extracurricular activities of the minor child, because despite the parties having joint decision making, mother consistently makes decisions without father. The minor child and mother both testified last, I believe it was May, June, and July, to activities that never occurred. So father's just asking for information to ensure that they do occur. However, the dates that he has chosen, Judge, he has ensured that they were dates that were going to be his parenting time if they followed the week on, week off schedule. They work with his work schedule, so he will not be working. As you know, my client's an anesthesiologist. He's a very inflexible schedule in the summer. And then also, he ensured what he does know of the child's extracurricular activities, that these are not going to be in the way of her extracurricular activities. So that's what we're asking for, Your Honor.
All right, then in my opinion, we need to go forward with this hearing and allow you to put your client on to testify about the changes he requests. I'll then hear from the opposing side and I'll make whatever decision is appropriate. I do have to leave somewhere between 11 and 11:30 and 11:45 because I have a doctor's appointment to deal with my upper respiratory infections. So,
Okay,
all right.
Judge.
You want to have your client testify, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wells, if you will unmute your device, please.
Yes, sure.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rosen, you may ask.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please state your full name for the record?
Robert Allen Wells,
And were you divorced from Shelley Ann? When were you divorced from Shelley Ann Wells?
in March 1st of 2021.
And what is the name and age of the minor child you have with Miss Wells?
Ella Wells, and she's 16 years old.
Do you have a court-ordered permanent parenting plan with Miss Wells?
Yes, I do.
And that plan has been modified a couple of times, correct?
Yes, it has.
And who is the primary residential parent?
Shelley is.
And how many days is Miss Wells awarded per the parenting plan?
290.5.
And how many days are you awarded, Mr. Wells?
74.5.
What is the majority of your parenting time that you get to spend with the minor child? When is that?
The vast majority of my parenting time happens in the summer when it was the week on, week off.
So your schedule, as you just testified, was usually a week on, week off schedule, right?
Yeah, week on, week off from June 1st until the first week of school, which is typically in the first week of August.
And Mr. Wells, you've testified before in this courtroom, correct?
Yes, I have.
So it's known on the record that you currently live in Park City, Utah, yes?
That is correct.
And you have been conducting a long distance parenting plan for quite some time, correct?
I've been conducting a long distance parenting plan since it was put in place because I was living in Kingston Springs and Shelley was living in Johnson City.
Okay. Mr. Wells, with you in Utah and the child in Tennessee, would it still be possible for you to be able to exercise this week on, week off plan?
Yeah, I could still execute that.
And what would that look like?
Well, that would look like that Ella would be traveling back and forth to Utah every week. And so that's going to be 2 flights a week for, over the course of 2 months, which is, it's a lot of strain on her. And that's not really something that, I wanted to do, which is why I proposed last year, made my proposals last year, and which is why I wanted to, make my proposals for this year.
And Mr. Wells, we're not here today to ask the court for you to conduct week on, week off parenting for the summer, are we?
That is correct.
We're asking the court for a similar plan to what they ordered last summer, correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Wells, why is it that you don't want the child to have to travel back and forth week on, week off to Utah?
The reason why is, obviously there's the strain of the component, but like she doesn't need to be in Utah every other week. She is a rising senior at her high school, and the summer between your junior and senior year of high school is a very important time for building your applications towards college. And, Shelley and I have agreed to use the services of a college counselor uh, who is uh, who is an expert at getting bright students like my daughter into highly selective colleges like Yale, like Vanderbilt, that Ella has indicated that she would love to attend. And so her recommendations were for Ella to uh, apply towards programs that are competitive, that you have to like submit your test scores, your grades, and you're selected out of a pool of applicants to be able to attend those programs. I do know that Ella has applied for the Tennessee Scholars Governor Scholars Program. She's had some applications there, and she's gotten some responses from that. And Ella also applied for Georgetown University Law Academy in DC. So I chose my schedule based on a lot of these programs have their residential, and most, if not all of them, are like taking up the month of June. And so I wanted to be able to leave, depending on which program she finally gets accepted to and chooses, then I wanted to have like just one weekend rather than just having to have the two, the week on, week off schedule. I wanted to, be able to exercise, a limited amount of parenting time consistent with our monthly parenting time, because these programs, they're residential. You're not going to, be able to go in for a week and like, spend time with your daughter. She's going to be, doing, normal teenage activities like learning, network with peers that are bright like she is. And I wanted to, take that into account, those extracurriculars, when I made my proposal.
So as you just testified, Mr. Wells, you did take into consideration the minor child's extracurriculars, which was a discussion we'd had in court last time, correct?
That is correct. And the extracurriculars that I know that she is interested in the summer, well, I know because of our conversations, but also because, we use the services of a college counselor, and she meets with the college counselor pretty much every month between just Ella and her, and they have conversations about like, what to apply for, what are you interested in, what type of colleges, and and through those notes of that from their meetings, the minutes of the meeting, that I get a copy of, that Ella gets a copy of, that Shelley also gets a copy of. I know that Ella, had applied towards the governor's school in Tennessee. She applied to three different programs within that. She applied to the Georgetown Law Academy, also to Yale Global Scholars, and also towards William and Mary, a program in history.
And Mr. Wells, do you know which program she has been accepted to thus far from what you just named?
Yes, so she's been accepted into the Georgetown Law Academy, which is in DC, and there are three different sessions. Uh, One would be partly the last week of June, with some overlap of like my, proposed parenting time and her mom's parenting time. And there's also a couple of weeks in July for that program that would be mostly on her mom's parenting time, but there would still be some overlap. She is on the wait list for the Governor's School for Humanities, and that program is in Martin, Tennessee. And although she's on the wait list, I have come to find out that she is in a favorable spot on the wait list. There's no guarantees she'll move up, of course, but it looks like, pretty favorable that she would be able to do that. And that's a full month um, residential program, taking up pretty much the month of June. Um, and based off the times of when those programs start and end, if that falls on my parenting time, I'm more than happy to pick her up from Martin, Tennessee and drive her back to Johnson City, or take her from Johnson City to Washington, D.C. to get her to the Georgetown program.
And did you learn about these programs from Miss Wells?
I learned about Ella's interest again from our conversations, but also from the notes that the college counselor has sent out and sends out every month, that again Shelley, Ella, and I are a part of.
Sorry, Your Honor, I'm just checking my notes. Mr. Wells, can you remind the court, what do you do for a living?
I'm an anesthesiologist.
And where do you work?
I work at Intermountain Medical Center in Murray, Utah.
And has your summer schedule been determined?
The summer schedule is set several months in advance. And the way that works is that 9 months ahead of time, you can put in your vacation requests. And as long as there's only a certain amount of days, like Monday, summer is a very different scheduling. So like there's only a certain number of spots each day, like 14 on a Monday, 9 on Tuesday, 11 spots for vacation. And as long as, when it opens up 9 months ahead of time, and as long as there are spots available and you haven't exceeded the number of vacation days that you're allowed, you can put in vacation, get it approved, and you'll know several months ahead of time that you're going to be guaranteed off, no questions asked.
So have you received approval for specific weeks or days this summer?
Yes, I have.
And what are those?
I have gotten approval for the two proposed weekends in June, as well as for the 2 weeks in July.
And what are the two proposed weekends for June? What are those dates, Mr. Wells?
Those are I believe it's the second weekend in June, as well as the last weekend in June. I have approval for those. The July weeks are, believe that's also the second week of July and the last week of July.
So the dates we're talking about, you're talking about a weekend in June, so that's June 8th to the 15th, correct?
Well, that June 8th through the 15th is a week, but it's going to be maybe 13th through 15th.
Okay, and then I believe it's 27 through 29. That's the other week you're deciding on, correct, of June?
June 27th through 29th, yes.
Okay, and then July, we're looking at the week of the 6th to the 13th, correct?
That is correct.
And that would be spent where?
That would be a week in Tennessee, near her home in Johnson City. I'm assuming my mother, Ella's grandmother, will be in North Carolina. We'll, because the court has, said it was appropriate for Ella to be able to go and visit her grandmother in North Carolina. We'll go and visit her there, but mostly it's going to be in Johnson City.
And your weekend, the one weekend you're talking about for June, between those two weekends, those will both be spent where?
Those are supposed to be spent in Tennessee, but again, if she's traveling from in Johnson City, Tennessee, but if she is coming from a program where she needs to be picked up in Martin and driven back to home to Johnson City, I'll do that. Or if she's on her way to her program in Georgetown, if she needs to get to Washington D.C., I will take her to Washington D.C. and get her set up.
And then that weekend in July, that last week of July, July 20th to the 27th, where are you requesting that be spent?
Well, that was going to be 4 days will be spent in Utah. They're going to be, so I would pick up Ella on 7 p.m. on a Sunday, and we would drive to Charlotte, stay the night there, and then in the morning, take a mid-morning flight from Charlotte to Salt Lake, get into Salt Lake in late afternoon on a Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 full days in Utah. And then Saturday morning, we get up 7 a.m., get to the airport and fly back to Charlotte, and then eventually get back to Johnson City for Saturday night. And then she'll go back to her mom at 7 p.m. the next day.
Mr. Wells, how many days exactly are you requesting for this summer with your child?
All told, it's going to be 16 days.
16 days. And do you think that's a lot of days?
Well, I mean, I think that's normally I would, on a week on, week off, I would have 28 days, but it's 16 days. Last year I had 19 days. It's actually 3 days less than what the court had deemed was appropriate last summer. It's less days because I feel like that's the best way to match up with the programs that I know Ella has applied to and it has been accepted to or will be accepted to here soon.
Do you think this is a pretty reasonable request?
I think it's reasonable because it's what the court felt was appropriate given the testimony that the court has heard last summer regarding, extracurricular plans and concerns that Ella had that we can get into here later. But it's pretty much mirrors that, and in fact, it's actually tilted more towards Shelley.
So are you asking for the court to modify the upcoming 2025 summer schedule today?
Yes,
And are you asking for them to adopt your proposed 2025 summer schedule?
yes,
Mr. Wells, in our motion, we're also talking about provisions for extracurriculars for this summer, correct?
that is correct.
Why is it exactly that you feel that there needs to be provisions regarding the child's extracurriculars this summer?
Well, I feel like there needs to be provisions based on the experience that we had last summer in terms of trying to make sure that what extracurriculars that were perceived to be that she would be doing, that you're actually going to be doing these. And just to give you an illustration, last summer, Ella attended one camp. The camp that she had testified to at the May hearing was for a mock trial camp at Rhodes College in Memphis. That was a camp that I paid $2,000 for her to attend. But I did not get any information about the logistics, didn't get any information about what form needed to be filled out or signed off by parents or provided in order to fully enroll. And Ella arrived on campus and there were some forms that were missing that hadn't been filled out, hadn't been sent to them, even though I had paid the money. And so we had the last minute emergency kind of get that taken care of before she could actually participate in the program. And so the provisions I wanted would be, I need to see, proof of a submission and acceptance that, of these programs. I want to make sure that this isn't just something that you say that you're going to attend and then turns out you don't, because at at last summer, Ella testified to all the camps at ETSU, like a robotics camp, like a museum camp, like an art camp, and a Milligan tennis camp. And she attended zero. She did not attend any of them. None of those camps that she said that she wanted to attend, she attended zero. Also, last year,
And
Ella
Mr. Wells, that
testified.
just for a second, Mr. Wells, that had nothing to do with you, correct? That she didn't attend those?
No, these were on the ETSU camps were on her mom's parenting time. The Milligan tennis camp was on my parenting time. It was in the last week of July. Ella brought a tennis racket. She brought clothes. During that last week of July, we had a hearing, and I appeared here in Cheatham County Courthouse. But Ella was with my sister, who understood that Ella said that she has a tennis camp. Can you, if she tells you, gets the information, I haven't been provided any information on the logistics. If if I happen to hear anything, or if Ella mentions something to you, could you take her to this camp? There was, no information shared about the logistics of this. And I get back for the remainder of that week, and Ella did not go. She did not want to go.
Mr. Wells, in your opinion, do you feel that Miss Wells uses this joint calendar and places extracurriculars on there as a weapon to eliminate your parenting time?
There are, as of right now, I know that we had talked about like the 4 programs that Ella, indicated she applied to for the summer, but there are 20 to 25 other programs that are listed that I've never that are new to me, that I've never read in any discussions about this as a serious program. A lot of these programs have sessions that start from the beginning of June and last until the beginning of August, which would completely eliminate all parenting time.
And is one of the programs, Mr. Wells, that you're talking about from June till August, is that I believe Is that a English program? Is that correct?
So there is a program. It's called the Yale Summer Session Courses for Credit in English Language Institute. It's at Yale. It's a great place, and it does have sessions that last from June 27th through August 1st. But because this was new to me, I did some background learning on this, and it turns out this is a course for students who are international who speak English as a second language and are coming to get better at their English skills. Now, Ella, she's not international, obviously, but she scored a 96% on her reading and writing on the PSAT that she just took this past October. She did better than I did on it. So I feel like, a course that takes up all summer to develop your English skills for somebody who's already fluent in English and performing at a very high level on standardized tests, I feel like that's wholly inappropriate. But that's one course. There's other courses that are summer school at Milligan College, summer school at Rhodes College. I looked into these options. These are only options for students who are already enrolled at the college. These aren't for high school students. These are not dual enrollment. Ella is not even like a candidate for those things, but nevertheless, they're placed on the calendar, and it's confusing. And uh, these programs are like would give the appearance that they would take up the entire summer.
And that would eliminate the child from being able to travel to you or see you during your parenting time, correct?
Well, of course, I mean, like these would be things that would be take up the entirety of your day. And as the court has ruled is that I'm not working during my parenting time, so that I can actually have good quality time with my daughter. And if she's taking dual enrollment courses that are not necessary in the summer, if she's taking some of these programs that quite frankly are very low value that aren't going to help her on her college applications, uh, then and they're basically designed to just occupy space and give you an excuse to not be able to see her. I think they're wholly inappropriate. I want my daughter to do extracurriculars. I want her to do the ones that that she's worked with her college counselor, that she's applied to and put forth the effort to, that are like very high value, that are prestigious, that are going to help you. Because Ella indicated to her counselor, and I know this through the notes, that she would like to attend Yale, she would like to attend Vanderbilt, she would like to attend Rhodes. And you need to do courses like that in the summer that you compete with, not anything that you can like, pay a tuition and get to go, or like, that are just, low value.
And other than these summer programs we're talking about, is Ella still participating in any like school extracurricular activities or outside school extracurricular activities, dance, tennis, any of those things?
Sad to say, as of December, this past December, I learned through an email from Shelley to the high school that, excuse me, Ella was no longer participating in robotics. She's no longer participating in speech and drama. She's no longer participating in Quiz Bowl, which were activities that she not only participated in with enthusiasm, but she also succeeded at those. She was getting recognition. She was getting recognition at the state and national level for these things, and she's no longer doing them. The reason provided was to focus on, doing schoolwork. But but she's not doing these extracurriculars and haven't done them for some time now.
So, Mr. Wells, along with requesting that the court adopt your modified 2025 summer parenting schedule, are you also asking that they adopt an order regarding specific provisions for the child's summer 2025 extracurriculars?
Yes, and those provisions again were to like, and we need to see proof of submission and acceptance. We want to, once we see what she's accepted to, Shelley and I need to jointly agree on what Ella is going to be doing, and then once we agree, Mom, Shelley should, within 72 hours of like us agreeing to like these are the programs that we feel like Ella should be doing, then Shelly should send all communications, like the logistics, like what your child needs to like get set up, like, what do you need for your dorm, like what, how much, are they planning on doing shopping or whatever, like what sort of like per diem allowance would be appropriate. Like I need all that information because again, she almost missed out on the camp at Rhodes College because there were several forms missing. And had I been looped into the conversation with that and looped in, I would have made sure that things would have been set up appropriately, and Ella would be able to attend because she ultimately attended and had a fabulous experience in Memphis. But we almost missed out on it, and I want to make sure that we don't miss out on that again.
And then, Mr. Wells, one other request I know you have for the core is ACT and SAT. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, so again, that's born out of the experience we had last summer. So there was an ACT test that was booked initially on June 8th, which was before our hearing was going to be during my parenting time. That was Shelley had booked that on my parenting time without any notice, without any discussion, booked a time and a location that, and again, without any input from me. That once I called attention to that, that was changed to a date in July, which was on Shelley's parenting time. Well, uh, Shelley, come to find out that Ellen never actually took that test on that date because it was canceled, and Shelley took Ella to her family reunion in July. But it was later rescheduled to another date in September, which was again on my parenting time, put in at a location that was an hour away from Johnson City. And again, without any discussion, without any input of like, okay, this is what I feel is appropriate. This is what we need to do. And like, are you okay with doing this on your parenting time? Just want your input. There was no collaboration whatsoever. It was, partly a problem, even to do the test last summer because we were told to do it in December anyway. Why were we even trying to schedule this in June, July, and September when we were advised by the college council not to even focus on that, just take it in December. But ultimately, Ella did take it. She took it at the time that was advised. She took it in December, and she did fabulous. She did quite well.
So is she retaking it, Mr. Wells?
I she just took one, I believe this past week at her high school. So she got to take it again. Hopefully she's going to get a better score, a score that she feels like that would be more applicable to her. But these provisions that for the SAT and ACT, what I wanted to circle back to was if Shelley feels like, that a standardized test needs to happen on my parenting time, please, discuss this with me, send me notice, and we let's agree on it 60 days in advance. And, if it's going to be on my location, it's going to be on my parenting time. Let me choose the location that's going to be convenient for Ella and I to be able to make, rather than a location that's like over an hour away.
And Mr. Wells, since obviously we have not seen Mr. Sanders' response, but he did state on the record that one of their oppositions to our motion was your relationship with the minor child, which the court has heard before that there is some
Yeah.
strain there. Are you and Ella still participating in father-daughter counseling?
We absolutely are still participating in father-daughter counseling. I I know from where we started when we were doing this in 2022 up until now that there has been tremendous gains in growth, and that initially, because because of the parental alienation that had been occurring, I hadn't had any private time with Ella for many years. And when Shelly moved 6 hours away, for me to even have time with my daughter, I would drive 6 hours one way, but we would meet at a McDonald's, we would meet at a Texas Roadhouse, and I would get 30 minutes of time with Ella, Shelly being there, supervising, being the minder. And after 30 minutes, it's like, okay, it was great to see you. Have a safe trip. Good luck. And I'd have to drive 6 hours back, and I get 30 minutes of time. So for many years, I didn't get time to like get to know who Ella was away from her mom. And Ella never got to know who her dad was away from her mom, and to be able to understand, like, how do you communicate? How do you learn to how to communicate to each other with each other? But with the father-daughter counseling, we've been able to identify like how we communicate. Ella's a passionate communicator. I'm a passionate communicator. And we've had to learn how to like, a relationship, any relationship's going to have times where there's going to be conflict. And, Ella's a teenage girl, it's they're not going to necessarily fall in lockstep with what the parent says or does. And so you have to navigate that. You have to navigate that respectfully. You got to navigate that healthily. And I can tell you this is that Ella and I, through the father-daughter counselor, we've developed skills to be able to like, okay, if we're like discussing something and it feels like it's getting a little heated, we know how to like call it out, recognize it, and cool down. And we both are doing that. And we both have been able to take those skills, and like we're going places like on fall break, going to New York, going to see colleges in New York and Connecticut. We're going to Broadway shows that she wants to see. We're going to St. Patrick's Cathedral that she always wanted to see in New York. This spring break, we just went to Boston. We saw some colleges up in the Northeast in Maine, and we did a big road trip, and we were able to like spend significant amount of time together that was relatively conflict free. There was very, very little issues that come up that that are not out of the ordinary, between like trying to get your daughter to like, come on now, we got to wake up, we're going to be late if we don't make the tour that starts. So you got to get up, you got to get ready, we got to get things together, and we got to get out and be able to get there on time. I mean, these are just normal, natural things, but we're able to navigate that healthily, respectfully, and we've been able to do that with the father-daughter counseling.
And do you believe it would be prejudicial if you had no summer parenting time with the child this year?
Well, I can tell you from last summer when we had the weeks together in Tennessee, and during the 4 days that we had in Utah, we were able to have multiple sessions with the father-daughter counselor. During that time, we would have anywhere from 2 to 3 in a week. And we were able to just kind of build up rapidly on certain things, and be able to like, talk about the things that the court wanted us to talk about, which were like some of the issues that she testified to last year. The court said, do the counseling and cover these issues, explore these and talk about it. And we have explored these issues, and I've had to hear her perspective of like how she come to think of some things. And we've had to go through and hear each other out and explain. And like there have been misconceptions that were held. Some of the things that she had testified to were things she had never witnessed herself, were things that she had overheard 2 weeks later between mom and dad. And so she developed an idea in her mind of how it really went when she was 6 years old or 7 years old. And I had to go back and correct her on things that were like, no, that's not how that went. Did you see that? No, did you see that? Well, if you didn't see it, then here's how. Oh, you're basing it off things that you overheard, limited conversation you overheard between mom and dad 2 weeks after the fact. And so we've had to like go back and like clear up a lot of misconceptions. And I've had to clear up things that were like, oh, well, dad, you didn't support my ballet in Kentucky, you tried to eliminate me from doing the dance. I was like, no, here's the email that I sent to your ballet instructor asking, what can we do to get you more time in the performance? And whatever needs to be done. If we need to go and like get more practice this week, I'll make sure to get her to the practice if that gets her more time. And it turns out she couldn't get more time in the performance because they never went to the practices beforehand. They were doing them on Zoom. They weren't doing them in person. And so the instructor felt like they couldn't give her, an increased role in the performance based on that. But I showed her the email that I sent to the ballet instructor saying I would do whatever, to get Ella more, to get her a better role if that's appropriate. So I've had to go back and with the father-daughter counselor, clear up a lot of misconceptions that she's held.
So I want to stay on track, Mr. Wells, because this
Sure.
is your last summer before the parenting plan expires. Yes.
That is correct.
And how important is it for you to spend this summer with the minor child?
I mean, it's our last summer. It's our last great opportunity to be able to have extended periods of time together. My summer time my parenting time is 37% in the summer is 37%. So it's weighted a lot heavier than any other days than Shelly has. Shelly's summer is like maybe 13% of her total parenting time. So my summer parenting time is extremely valuable. And I have to draw a careful balance between, you know, I really want to spend a lot of time with my daughter, but she also has a lot of activities and extracurriculars that would be good for her to do, that would be healthy and beneficial, that are residential, where you're like actually with peers and doing things that are like, you know, preparing you for uh for your senior year and in college and in life beyond. And I want to strike a balance between that. Um it's very important because I've spent many years not having just time with my daughter, just me and her. And I'm very grateful for the time that I've been able to get, just me and her, and being able to go and travel and see new things, and uh, you know, go and explore New York, explore Boston, explore the salt flats at Utah. She got to drive out on the salt flats in Utah, drove my truck out there at a high speed. It was very frightening, but she got to do a lot of unique things, and like for many years, because Shelley would never allow that. She would never allow Ella and I to have time together, just me and her. And even after the divorce, there have been many things, and we've covered this in this courtroom. You know, I've testified to this many times, that there's always continued efforts to thwart that time, to make changes, and force me to like make last minute changes, and to be um in let's say in misconstruing even court orders that where the court had said, the monthly parenting time will be in Tennessee near Ella's home. But Shelley had tried to spin the words and say, oh no, you have to spend your Christmas, your Thanksgiving, your spring break, your fall break, and your summer all has to be here in Johnson City. And it's a never ending assault on like my ability to have a normal experience with my daughter. And so um I'm trying to strike a careful balance between what Ella needs, and I'm willing to give up a lot of the normal parenting time that I would have to see that she is able to get to these things that would be good for her. But again, I don't think it's a good idea for her to do these summer school and all these other programs that are low value, that aren't going to actually help her get into these prestigious places that she aspires to and she dreams to. I don't think it's a good idea. So I wanted to at least put in place the schedule, the proposals that for the time that would match what we did last year, and be able to give Ella that room to be able to do those important programs, but also for us to be able to like have time together, because again, this is our last summer together, and I really want to make the most of it with her.
That's all, Judge.
Sanders, you may cross-examine.
Yes. Mr. Wells, are you able to see and hear me okay?
I cannot see you, sir. I can hear you, but I
Okay.
cannot see you.
Okay, okay. As long as you can hear me, if the court is okay with that, I'm okay with that.
Okay with it? As long as you
I'm
do.
fine with it. I can see Mr. Sanders.
Probably better that he does. Have a face for the radio, I suppose. A couple of questions, Mr. Wells, about your proposed parenting time for the summer.
Yes, sir.
The motion that your attorney filed, it says that you would propose that you have visitation time in East Tennessee or the North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina area, either on the weekend of June 8th through 15 or June 22 through 29. Now, I presume there's a typo there, because those days would not be a weekend. Can you clarify for me what it is that you're talking about there? Are you
Well,
referring to weekend or a whole week?
So yeah, as in my direct exam with Miss Rosen, that we clarified that it is the actual those dates were spelled out. It would be like the Friday through Sunday, and it would these are weekends that I would normally have during the regular parenting plan. And again, I'm only choosing one of those weekends, not both of them. Only one of them, depending on what programs Ella finally gets accepted to, and Shelley and I agree that Ella should participate in. So they would only be pick up on the Friday and drop off on the Sunday, which would mirror would follow exactly like what we do for our regular monthly parenting time. And it would only be 1 month or one weekend in the month of June.
And then for the month of July, again, you have two different weeks there proposed. Would your proposal be weeks or weekends for the month of July?
Those again would be those would be the same weeks that I would normally have if the week on week off schedule would be followed. And I again chose 1 week to be in Tennessee near her home, with the option to visit grandma if grandma is in Charlotte during that week. To just go down and just visit and then come back to Johnson City for the remainder of the week. And then the 1 week in Utah with 4 days, again, 4 full days being in Utah. And these are times that were consistent with what the court thought was appropriate last summer.
And your daughter is 16, she'll be 17 in just a few short months. Is that correct?
She'll be 17, May 23rd.
And in your mind, should she have any discretion or say in this summer schedule that's being discussed on her behalf?
Well, she does have a say, but I also want to remind the court that, again, based off her testimony that she had provided last year, where she said that she was interested in doing these camps at ETSU and the Milligan tennis camp, the camps that were near her home, she said that she wanted to, and again, I'm referring to her testimony from last year. She wanted to attend these camps. They were very important to her. She wanted to stay home and do them. And I think those were very influential in the judge's decision and discretion. She never attended any of them. She attended 0, and these were on her mom's parenting.
Judge, if I may stop Mr. Wells, he's attempting to answer questions that have clearly not been answered. I asked him if his daughter should have any discretion, and he said yes. So that was the end of my questioning with respect to that. If his attorney feels that she needs to follow up, then she may, but I would
follow up with you if there's need for you to further
Yes.
explain that. Sustain the objection.
Now, Mr. Wells, you said that you and your daughter are continuing to do this counseling.
Yes,
That's with Miss Tammy Daughtry?
that is correct.
Do you know whether or not Miss Daughtry has a license to conduct counseling?
Objection, Judge. We've been through this before.
The objection is what?
You're aware of Miss Daughtry's licensing, Judge. She's testified to it in court. It's on the record.
Mr. Sanders, you may be new to the case, but Ms. Daughtry, I think, has been going through this with these parties. So I'll allow you to ask the question if he knows the answer.
Yes. The question was,
It's not going to affect my ruling on the counseling that they've been attending.
I understand. Do you know whether Miss Daughtry has a license to conduct counseling?
I was present at that testimony, and yes, I am aware to her testimony. She does not have a license in Tennessee.
She does not have a license in Tennessee?
And that's because she services clients that cross state lines, and that's basically her niche situation, which is similar to what our family is, because I live in Utah and Ella lives in Tennessee, and she would not be able to do any counseling services while Ella was in Utah if she were primarily limited to Tennessee.
Okay. So the answer is no. To your knowledge, she does not have a license.
I am aware that she does not have a license in Tennessee that would restrict her ability to provide services to our family.
And when you all do the counseling sessions, are those typically done via Zoom?
We have done some Zoom. We've also done some in person, depending upon the timing. Like again, when our monthly parenting time is in Johnson City, she's based out of Nashville. We do those via Zoom, but in times when during, like for instance, there were times when we, you know, when I was living in Nashville, living in Kingston Springs, we did in person with her.
When is the last time that you all did an in-person session?
That's I believe that's I don't know the exact date, but I can tell you that it happened before the current before the geographical restrictions were placed upon my monthly parenting time, which would be
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
and
When was that?
which would be and which would be it was June, it was January of 2023. So it was before January of 2023.
So since that time, since January of 2023, all sessions have been conducted via Zoom.
That is correct.
And do you recall a recent counseling session where you became very upset, slammed your fist down, causing your daughter to be upset and cry during that session?
I am
You
aware.
recall?
I am aware of that.
Judge, I'm going to object to this line of questioning. I don't see the relevance in any of this.
What is the relevance?
So, Judge, the relevance is we're talking about summertime visitation. It's our position that this child should have some level of discretion in these visitations and how they occur, when they occur. And we feel the father-daughter relationship, improved or not or otherwise, is relevant to that question.
Ms. Rosen, you have a response?
Your Honor, I just don't believe that this is relevant. You are well aware of what the child has testified to prior. You have seen videos, you have seen pictures. Again, this is an ongoing hearing. She's going to come and sit on this stand today and say that she hates her dad. She does it every time, Your Honor.
The irony of this situation is that you have a child that's going to be legally an adult in a little over a year. And what that means is she can tell her mother and her father to go take a giant leap off of off of a cliff if that's what she wishes to do. So whatever order I have done in the past, I have tried to give her some discretion because of her age. And last summer's visitation was crafted to try to accommodate that. Mr. Wells is simply saying he wants to try to have visitation with his daughter, which he has that right, and that he wants to do it in a way that his position is that will most allow her to have the normal, participation in all of these activities. But we do have, and that's the dilemma. You got someone who's going to be legally an adult in a year, but she's also right now a minor. So do we let a minor just basically say that she's not going to see her father, or give her the power to make those decisions when she doesn't have the legal right to make other decisions? It's a difficult situation. It's not one that, if I grant everything that Mr. Wells wants and disregard anything that she says, then do I harm his relationship with this child further, or do I make it a better relationship? It's a very difficult situation. So I am aware of the fact that the father-daughter relationship does impact this visitation schedule. I'm aware of the fact that she's old enough that she has a say in, or should have a say in these situations. As we all know, that Mr. Wells may not know, but under the Tennessee law, that the court in determining custody has to consider the wishes of a child of over 12 years of age or older if they're expressed, and with greater weight to be given to the preferences of an older child. So obviously I've got to consider what she says, and I've done that in the past, and I will have to consider it again whenever we get to it, which would not be this morning because we're not going to finish this hearing this morning, obviously. The 30 minutes that were supposed to take place is now 45 minutes on the first witness. So
I attempted to tell the court as best I could the estimated time that I I've gone through this file. I've not been involved this whole time, but I've gone through this file
We will find,
enough.
we will find the time to do it. It may be that we do it when I'm in another county
Okay,
and we do it by Zoom. Since Ms. Rosen and Mr. Wells are by Zoom, your clients can be by Zoom if they want. So
okay.
we'll find a time to do it. I would normally be here all day, but I can barely function right at the moment. And
I can tell by your voice, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
I
You
apologize,
don't-
Judge. Thank you for
but you
making
don't
the time
sound-
for us.
it's all right. I just wanted to come and do as much as I could before I went to my doctor's appointments.
Well, I mean, if we're not going to finish today, we're obviously not going to get any decision today. If it pleases the court, I'm happy to adjourn this hearing at this point until the court is
Well,
better.
let me say this. Mr. Wells has bent over backwards to try to accommodate his daughter. And his daughter is a minor, so she needs to understand that that's something that she's going to have visitation with, and I've tried to convey that to her. But I also want to consider what her wishes are about it. So what I would like to do is, while we have you and Ms. Rosen both here, obviously we're not going to finish this case today. So what I would like to do is to go ahead and find a date when we can, conduct this hearing. If we do it by Zoom, then I start my term in Stewart County tomorrow. And there are usually days that are not there. I have set a Dixon Chancery Day on the 17th. That's to give some time
Of April.
for April 17th.
I'm available on April 17th, Your Honor.
You are?
I am. Judge, I would ask if we're going to reset this, that my client be allowed to at least finish testifying today so that we're able to expedite the process at our next hearing.
That's fine. What I would suggest we do is just go ahead, if you're available on the 17th.
I have a hearing, I guess it's with Judge Turnbow in Dixon County. I think he's holding court in Dixon that day too for Chancery.
Maybe.
I have a termination of parental rights case that's contested.
What about April the 10th?
I'm available April 10th as well.
Would that be behind other things, or
It would be.
I'm available
from-
that morning. I have a mediation at 1, but I'm
All right.
available at 9.
Let's just resume this at 9 o'clock via Zoom for any participants. Excuse me. Who want to participate. We'll do it from my courtroom in Dixon County Justice Center. So if you want to appear in person, you can do that.
Yes, Your
we
Honor.
have a little bit better means of doing the Zoom there. So, okay, so this is going to be the Wells versus Wells continued. Obviously, it would be great if you all could come to some sort of agreement considering the child's wishes, but obviously that's not happened up to this point. So we will conduct the hearing on that day. So.
And if I may ask Mr. Wells just a couple of more questions, I may have more at the next hearing, but
I'm gonna give Ms. Rosen an opportunity to the next hearing to also question Mr. Wells about anything else. So if you want to ask those questions, go ahead.
Mr. Wells, what summer activities are you aware of that your daughter has already signed up for or expressed an interest in signing up for that you support?
So again, I've had discussions with my daughter about programs. I have asked her if she applied. Did you hear back from William and Mary? Did you hear back from Georgetown? Did you hear back from Yale Global Scholars? Did you hear back from several of the Tennessee governor schools? She applied to 3 of the governor schools programs. She applied to theater design. She also applied to business and entrepreneurship. And she also
do you support her?
So,
Do you support her attending those?
I absolutely support her attending the
Okay,
governor's
so
program.
the governor's school, you support her attending, correct?
I support her attending the governor's school. I support her attending the Georgetown Law Academy. We know that she applied to the Yale Global Scholars, which is totally different than this English Language Institute for foreign students. She did not get accepted into that. And I, asked her about William and Mary, and there was some uncertainty as to whether she had applied to William and Mary, but I reached out to the William and Mary program and learned that her application for that is not yet complete. So as of right now, she's on the wait list for humanities in Martin, Tennessee, which would be up until the Friday of the last weekend in June. She's on the wait list, and let's cross our fingers. Let's hope that she gets to move up and participate in that, because that's a wonderful experience. But the Georgetown Law Academy, they have 3 separate sessions to choose from. And I guess depending upon what happens with the Tennessee Governor's School, and she'll probably pick the ones for Georgetown that would be in July. As options, and I'm wholly supportive of that. I said I would reimburse costs for these programs, which are $3,500 for the Georgetown, roughly that, and depending, I think the humanities for governor's school, I don't think there's any tuition cost for that, but
So
I
you support the Georgetown Law Academy, you
yes.
support the governor's school. If she is accepted into the William and Mary, is that something that you support?
That's gotta, we gotta look at the sessions for that. But again, the applications they've already started making decisions since February on that. So, then they make their decisions on a rolling basis where, once the spots fill, the spots fill. So, as of right now,
Mr. Wells, I'm not asking you about the application process or the rolling application process. My question is simply this. Hypothetically speaking, if your daughter is accepted into the William and Mary program, is that a program that you would accept her attending? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Same question. The Yale Scholar program that you've referred to?
Yes.
Hypothetically, if she applies to that and is accepted to that, is that a program that you approve and believe would be something that she could be better served by attending? It's in her best interest.
Well, she's already applied and she already received a decision, and unfortunately she was rejected for that.
Okay. Are there any other programs that at this time that you're aware of that you support your daughter attending?
These are the ones that we have been working in consultation with the college counselor that Shelley and I had agreed to use the services of a college counselor because Ella is bright and she's ambitious and she deserves, to be able to, but that sort of experience, like I went to college in the late 90s, Shelley went to college in the late 90s as well. Like we never, knew of anything about that. So things have changed. I've never, I was, Ella is looking at a lot of prestigious schools that I wasn't going to be able to attend, even, at her age. And so, these are things that, I want, we need their input. And what the college counselor, again, has recommended is that these programs that you apply, that you compete, that you actually have to be selected and decided upon amongst a pool of candidates. These are the types of programs that set you apart, that distinguish you on your application for the programs like colleges like Yale and Vanderbilt and Rhodes that Ella indicated to her that she would love to attend. You need to be spending your summers between
Mr. Wells, you've answered my question. I just wanted to make sure that I understood the dates that you were requesting and the programs that you were in approval of. And that will permit me to talk with Ms. Wells between now and our next hearing. And so I'll tender the witness at this time, Your Honor. I think I would likely have additional questions, but for today's purposes, I'm finished.
Both sides will have the opportunity at the next hearing to ask any additional questions that they may want of Mr. Wells. will adjourn until 9 o'clock on the 10th day of April, and that will be at the Justice Center, Courtroom 5 in Charlotte. And if you need to appear by Zoom, we have a big screen TV. It'll be a little bit better accommodations for that. So,
Your Honor, if I may just clarify, that was a typo on my part in our motion. The weekends are June 13th to 15th or June 27th to 29th. The other thing I'd like to clarify, Your Honor, or just state for the record, is that the minor child is at a tier 2 truancy. She's missing 2 days of school for this. The reason we requested this be via Zoom is so that the child did not have to miss school. I understand you want to hear her testify, but I would request that this hearing be via Zoom because we're doing it first thing in the morning. We're not going to be out all day on this hearing, and she can go to school on a half day, but the school is no longer taking absences. She has missed, if she misses 2 days from today and tomorrow, she's at 25 and a half days missed, and she's at a tier 2 truancy.
so and the sound in this courtroom is not particularly great with the Zoom. What specifically are you asking, Ms. Rosen?
I'm asking that Miss Wells and the child appear via Zoom so that the child can attend school after our
You want
hearing
them
on the
to appear
10th.
by Zoom. Any reason that's not possible?
Well, Your Honor, we take exception to Ms. Rosen's statements about the absences. Those have been taken care of with proper medical documentation.
No,
And
they have not, Judge. I've read
that's-
the emails.
Are you finished, Ms. Rosen? I don't want to speak over you.
Sure, Mr. Sanders, you're more than
Okay.
welcome to speak.
Okay. Those have been addressed with the school, Your Honor. And I understand that certain things can be done via Zoom. COVID taught us that process, but some
I am
things are
not going
difficult.
to order that someone has to appear by Zoom. That is an option. So Mr. Wells can fly in and appear in person. He can come in on Zoom. The same thing will be for the child and the mom. I'm not going to order that it has to be by Zoom. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
we are adjourned till 9 o'clock on the 10th of April. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Wells versus Wells that was set here to allow us to consider a motion to alter or amend the summer visitation. And I believe Father's the one who filed the motion, is that correct?
That is correct, Judge.
Right. And I believe we have Mr. Wells on Zoom link from his home.
We do, Park City,
Utah.
Utah, yes.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
Good morning. If you want to make an opening statement to kind of clarify what exactly it is we're dealing with.
Judge, before I start, I'd ask that the minor child please be removed from the courtroom. She should be in school, but she's here right now, and I would ask that she not be in the courtroom during
It's
this.
appropriate. Make sure that the monitor outside, Tyler, is off, please.
Thank you, Judge. So, Your Honor, we're here because we're asking that we are able to change the upcoming summer schedule for the benefit of the minor child. So, unfortunately, we are here today because mom refuses to again co-parent with dad. So I actually did bring the transcript, Judge, from our last hearing where you asked that we not come back. And there was
I
a
often ask parties to not come back. It's a wish.
wishful
suggestion that
thinking.
is not very often fulfilled, unfortunately. So, go ahead.
So a part of the transcript, you said, they're going to both have to start acting like responsible adults who don't hate each other's guts. If I have to hear the final hearing about the modification that's been requested, I'm going to consider how they have both acted between now and then. So both of you are setting a record of your behavior from this point forward that the court will consider in the final analysis. So my advice would be that you both need to start cooperating with each other and quit trying to play games, because clearly this court is going to make the decision that I think is the appropriate one under the law and the facts. And I'm not going to be impressed with people who are trying to make life difficult for the other one just to get back at the other one. That's essentially why we're here today, Judge. During our last hearing in January, you dismissed the TRO. That was the only reason we were here. And you said that Dad's visitation was going to be in the local access area for his monthly parenting time. We didn't talk about summer parenting time, and that was 6 months ago. Dad's parenting time right now in the summer is week on, week off. Last summer, Dad was able to work with his new employment to be able to come back to Tennessee. for every week that he had with the minor child. He can't do that again. He's an anesthesiologist. They were kind enough to do that your first year. You understand when you have a really busy job, they expect you to be somewhere. It's his second year there, they're not allowing that. So the minor child will have to travel to and from Utah. So what we're asking, and Dad has made proposals, and I have the proposals for you to look at because Mom refuses to even acknowledge them, is that it will limit the minor child's travel time to and from Utah in the summer. So what that would mean is right now, if we did week on, week off, she's gonna be traveling 5 times, going back and forth to Utah and Tennessee. Instead, what we're doing is we've come up with a proposal that could limit it to 3 times she would have to travel, or maybe 2 times. Everybody gets their parenting time. It doesn't change the day count. My client's time is majority spent in the summer with the minor child. And once again, we're here because Mom wants to basically say, well, if you can't come to Tennessee, then you can't see the child. And that's too bad because her entire game has always been to try and take away Dad's parenting time until he doesn't have any. You've seen it time and time again. This is why we've been before you time and time again. So we're asking that we are able to change the upcoming parenting schedule so that Dad has his time with the minor child. The minor child doesn't have to travel and go through jet lag and back and forth as much. So this will limit that. And this honestly, in a long distance parenting plan, isn't unusual to ask for, to not have week on, week off and have 3 weeks or every 2 weeks or even a month with the parent that's long distance. So that's what we're asking for today, Judge.
We hear from counsel for the mother.
Morning, Your Honor. Brad Frakes of the National Bar on behalf of the mother for the limited purpose of this motion today. I was not representing the mother on January 29th, 2024 at the last hearing, or the hearing at issue, Your Honor. But the transcript from that hearing, the court's ruling from the bench was specifically that my intention is to dissolve the restraining order and replace it just with the restriction that the visitation that he has occur in the county where she is living in. That there will be no influence of this child one way or the other about her desire to be with the father or not be with her father. My client's position is that the court didn't differentiate at that point in time between monthly weekend parenting time and summer parenting time. Her understanding is that the summer parenting time is to be taking place in the state of Tennessee as well. Due to the fact that it's currently scheduled for a week on, week off, I would suggest to the court that that's the more logical issue because the travel would be greater every other week from Utah to Tennessee and back. My client is asking that the father be ordered to exercise his parenting time here, or that the court just make a clarification of what the understanding was at that time. I will admit that the order that was entered on April 24th states monthly weekend parenting time, but it doesn't address summer parenting time at all. If this child has to go back and forth on a weekly basis, that would defeat the purpose of the court's prior ruling, obviously, because that would be more travel for the child. If this child has to do 2-week intervals or more than 2-week intervals, it's not going to be in her best interest because it's going to prevent her from participating in almost any scholastic or extracurricular activities or camps that she's enrolled in for the summer. So we're asking the court to find that the summer parenting time be exercised in the state of Tennessee. Also, we would suggest to the court that the father's not going to be present for the majority of the parenting time in the state of Utah if he's allowed to do so, because he's going to be working during that time, Your Honor.
What is your suggestion? Obviously, what the father is saying is that his work schedule has changed and he's not able to effectively travel back and forth and alternate his visitation here and exercise it here in the state of Tennessee because of his employment, if he has alternating weekly summer visitations. So, and that is a present court order for summer. The prior orders of this court that were modifying the schedule and so forth didn't address the summer, if I understand correctly. It's been a while, so.
You're correct, Judge.
Pardon?
You're correct, Judge. It didn't address the summer schedule.
So the summer visitation on the original parenting was alternating weeks. So my question to you is, what is your suggestion if you're saying you don't want to let him take the child to Utah every other week, and you don't want to let him take the child to and from Utah on a 2-week or a 3-week basis? Is your client's suggestion just that he still has to come here to exercise his visitation or not at all?
That he comes here to exercise his visitation, Your Honor, or more properly, I think, and the solution that neither party or the child is going to necessarily like, but what I think is more fair and equitable between all of them, is to allow him to come here to exercise his visitation when he's able to during the summer months, and to give him 1 week in June and 1 week in July, where the minor child doesn't miss out on the majority of her scholastic and extracurricular activities.
In other words, completely modify the summer schedule of the parenting plan.
I think that's the only alternative, Your Honor. The child doesn't need to travel back and forth that often.
Well, if that's the case, then one of the options I have is to alter the parenting plan. If we're going to alter the summer parenting plan, and just let her go stay with the father the entire summer.
And then she misses the entire scholastic and
These
extracurricular
parties
activities.
got a divorce, and that oftentimes negatively impacts children. I don't like that. I don't like the idea that that's what happens. It's always the children who suffer in these situations when the parents can't set aside their own personal interests and they think about it. In this case, how old is this young lady?
16 at the end of this month, Your Honor.
16. So we've got a 16-year-old, and in 2 years, she's going to be able to tell them both to take a flying leap off a cliff if she wants to, and she can do whatever she wants to. She can see them or not see them, either one of them, both of them. And unfortunately, that may be where we're headed in some of these instances. So, all right.
I would also suggest to the court that the father is the party, obviously, who chose to relocate after the last order was entered.
Here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Put on your proof.
Judge, if I may, my client has come up with some proposals. If we can give that to the judge, please.
Are you going to put your client on as your first witness?
I wasn't going to put a witness on. I just wanted to do a real quick, just redirect to what Mr. Frakes had to say, which is that option number 4 changes the schedule. What it does is 5 days ago, right before we had this hearing, mom decided to, originally, the minor child was supposed to have, I believe, just like a ballet camp, and there was one other activity. So dad made a proposal that worked around that. 5 days ago, mom now put her into a whole bunch of things, including stuff that of course was on dad's week to ensure that dad would be forced to either come here or not be able to do his parenting time. So what option 4 does, Your Honor, is it makes sure that the child does not miss any activities while still getting to spend the same amount of day count with dad during his summer parenting time in Utah and same amount of time that she's supposed to have with mom here in Tennessee, Judge.
All right. So do you want to offer proof on this matter?
I mean, that's fine I can put on
I
proof.
don't care. I'm just saying, if you want me to make the decision, I have to hear what the proof is. Right now, all I've heard is argument. So you're going to have to.
Absolutely. So I would like to put my client on as proof then, please.
Mr. Wells, raise your right hand. Let's place you under oath. The truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Robert Allen Wells.
And were you divorced from Shelley Ann Wells?
Yes,
You have a minor child with Miss Wells?
I do.
What is the name and age of the minor child that you have with Miss Wells?
Ella Jade Wells, and she is 15 years old.
Do you have a court-ordered permanent parenting plan with Miss Wells?
Yes, I do.
And that's been modified a couple times, correct?
That is correct.
And who's the primary residential parent?
Shelley.
And how many days is Miss Wells awarded parenting time with the minor child?
I know that I have 74.5 days, so that's going to be the difference between 365 and 74.5.
And what's the majority of the parenting time that you get to spend with the minor child? When is that?
The majority happens during the summers.
And what does that current schedule look like?
Currently, our summer schedule begins on June 2nd, and it ends during the week right before the week where school starts. So for this year, it's going to be, I believe, August 4th.
And that's usually a week on, week off schedule, correct?
That is correct.
Now, were you able last summer to do the week on, week off schedule?
Yes, and that was because I was during my negotiation with my employer, they were willing to bring me on and work like every other week in Utah and allow me to do my parenting time. They did give me notice at that time that for this summer that I would have to follow their employment policy in terms of summer vacation.
So what does your summer schedule look like this year then, Mr. Wells?
With my summer schedule, I am not allowed to because I'm basically a junior partner. I'm not allowed to take 35 to 36 days off during the summer because those are protected summertime for all the employees, because it's a very popular time for people to take off. So as I'm a junior partner, I don't get 35 to 36 days off to do 1 week on, 1 week off.
And can you tell the court, what do you do for a living, Mr. Wells?
I'm an anesthesiologist.
So you don't really have the option, and there's no flexibility in your schedule, correct?
There is no flexibility. I'm involved in, I have call responsibilities for the hospital as well as call responsibilities for the liver transplant team.
And when was this schedule established for your summer work schedule?
This summer, we put in our requests 9 months ahead, as early as 9 months ahead, but they aren't really finalized until basically about a month or two ahead. And so this time has already been finalized.
And Mr. Wells, you have proposed to the court, which I just gave to the judge, some options for a different summer parenting schedule. Now, I understand that number 4 was the most optimal. Mr. Frax, you have that copy, correct? Can we just discuss why is number 4 optimal? What are you looking for a summer schedule this summer?
Well, what I'm looking for is to try to find a way to, number 1, reduce the amount of travel for Ella. And number 2, is there a way that we can, logically and fairly divide the weeks up where the activities that she wants to do in Tennessee, she's able to do those. For the camp in particular that she wants to go in Memphis during June, I want to make sure that she's able to be picked up and dropped off during that time. And as well as these, she has an ACT test that she's been signed up for in the beginning of June in Tennessee. And as you had stated before, the ACT test, the camps at ETSU, I heard no knowledge. I had no discussion of this. I did not hear this from Ella during any time during my monthly parenting time with her beforehand. I learned about these 5 days ago before the hearing. Previously, we had 3 proposals, but with that new information, got to work and found a way to make it where everybody can do everything that they need to do. She can make her ACT test. She can make her camps in ETSU in Tennessee, and everybody has the same amount of days, and the travel burden is much, much less.
So, Mr. Wells, you would say that you care deeply about your time with the minor child, correct?
I care deeply about my time with her. I also care deeply that, she's able to do the things that she has said that she wants to do. Again, she never made any mention to me about any weekly camps in ETSU or about wanting to take the ACT this summer. But, her mom sent the invitations 5 days ago. I trust that that's what, Ella, that said she wants to do. And so I'm going to find a way to make it work.
And that's what you've done with this proposal right here, correct, Mr. Wells?
That is correct.
And Mr. Wells, was it your hope that we could have handled this just attorneys to attorneys, or you and Ms. Wells could have handled this together without involving the court?
Well, yeah, ideally, we should be able to, in the best interest of Ella, figure out a way where her interests are going to be placed ahead, and we can solve this like, mature, smart, responsible people who care about our daughter.
So, Mr. Wells, are you asking the court today to pick one of these proposals?
Yes.
And to modify the summer parenting schedule?
Yes.
But to be able to maintain the amount of days you are supposed to have with the minor child?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. That's all.
You may cross-examine.
Mr. Wells, where are you employed, sir?
I am employed at Mountain West Anesthesia.
And you are an anesthesiologist, correct?
That is correct.
Stated a junior partner.
I am a Class B partner, which is a junior partner.
What is your work schedule, sir?
My work schedule is defined a lot by the call responsibilities that we share amongst our partners.
What is your general work schedule, sir?
General work schedule is anywhere from about, depending on the staffing needs, anywhere from about 4 to 5 days during the work week. Typically about 1 weekend a month for call responsibilities on a weekend.
How many hours per week do you generally work, sir?
Depending on the week, but usually around 50 hours.
Okay, for June, the week of June 2nd, what is your current work schedule?
I'd have to look at that on my phone. So for the week of June 2nd, I have, beginning on the 2nd, I would be anticipating picking up Ella as of right now, and then being able to have Monday as a day to travel back. And as of right now, 3 days during the week where I may have to work, but then Friday would be off and the weekend would be off.
Okay, and how many hours would you work during those 3 days, sir?
During those 3 days, if it's about I'm going to estimate about an 8-hour day. Again, it depends upon the surgery schedule, but 24 hours that week.
Okay, and during those 24 hours, where would Ella be?
During those 24 hours, Ella would be primarily at my house.
Who lives with you, sir?
I live with my partner, Laurie Gomer.
Okay, would she be providing supervision for Ella?
She works from home primarily. So she would be able to check in on Ella and make sure that Ella is doing well on close at hand while I'm at work.
If you were awarded summer parenting time from June 9th to June 30, or I'm sorry, from June 9th until July 7th, as you're requesting,
Yes.
how many days have you scheduled off during that period of time? How many days?
During that time, I haven't counted them up because I put some of my advanced vacation notices based on the anticipated travel days if it had to be week on, week off. And so I would imagine that the amount of days off during that time, including weekend days, would be about 15, 16.
Do I understand you to state that you haven't scheduled any days during the week off for that period of time as of yet?
There are weekdays that have been taken off for travel, anticipation of having to travel back and forth if we could not get to any kind of resolution on changing the summer schedule.
What days are those, sir?
Those days would be occasionally, it has to depend on week, but on usually Mondays and Fridays that are like on a weekend where I'm not working.
So the majority of the time that, under this schedule, if the court approves of it, the majority of the time that Ella is in Utah with you, she would be at your house while you were at work, correct?
The majority, it's hard to say majority of the time, but I think that I'd say about half the time I will be free with her to be able to have, father-daughter time. And then there will be times where I will have to work because I can't take a solid month off of vacation as a junior partner.
I understand that, sir, but is there any possibility of you taking a full week off or 2 full weeks off during the summer?
I would have to ask my employer and probably try to see if I can get a hardship for that. It's a very summer, as you know, summer is a very popular time for people to want to take stretches of weeks off at a time. And we're, by our policy, we are limited to the amount of vacation days that can be taken off at one time.
You said that you wanted to do what was in Ella's best interest, obviously, correct?
That is correct.
Do you not believe that it would be in Ella's best interest if you were able to take 1 to 2 weeks off during the summer months to spend the time with her?
I am constrained. I would love to be fully retired and have all the time in the world to be with my daughter as I could, but I have to be able to, support her and support, my family, and I have to work, and I have to work within the constraints of what they are allowing me to do.
I understand, sir, and I want to make it clear my client's not blaming you for working, but do you believe it would be in Ella's best interest if during the time that you were working, she was able to stay in the state of Tennessee and attend the scholastic and extracurricular activities she's wanting to attend or has registered for already?
Well, as we noted in proposal 4, these scholastic activities that she wants to do in Tennessee, we're able to have that she's able to have that opportunity to stay with her mom during that time. It would be close at hand. I believe option 4 is the fairest opportunity and fairest option for everyone. She has indicated to me that she wants to do the mock trial camp at Rhodes College in Memphis. She's talked about it. She's talked about it for months. And I said, Ella, I don't know exactly whose time it's going to be on, whether it's going to be on your mom's time or my time. But if you apply, and you want to go, I will make sure that you get to go. I will pay your way. I will see that, we're able to get you transportation there, transportation back. We'll make it happen if that's what you want to do. That's really the only camp where she has expressed to me that she has a lot of interest. These other ones, they appeared on the shared family calendar 5 days ago. Ella has not made any mention of that to me, in our communication since then, either via text or phone call. But I found a proposal where if she wants to go, she can go to that, and we can, everybody would be, I think it just would be a fair way of dividing the time where nobody loses a day, and everybody, is able to do the things that, they need to do and want to do.
How many hours would you assume you've averaged this year at work per week?
It depends again, like on like call responsibilities, week by week, but it typically averages about 50 hours a week.
Okay, and during the time that Ella's in Utah, if the court approves of this proposal, during the 50 hours that you're not at the home per week, what do you anticipate Ella will be doing in Utah?
Judge, this was asked and answered already.
I believe he has asked, that's been asked and answered, sustained.
Could you repeat the question again, or?
I've sustained an objection to the question that has been already asked and answered. So.
If the court approves of your proposal, sir, how are you going to transport Ella?
I would fly to Tennessee, and we would do our pickup at her high school, which is where her mom and I have agreed to do exchanges at. And I would pick her up at 6 p.m. on the Sunday of that week, and return her back on 6 p.m. the Sunday where she needs to be at in July.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Wells, you understand your daughter's about to be 16, and she is present here today. I don't know if they're going to ask me to talk with her or hear her testimony, but you understand that in 2 years, she can just tell you that she doesn't want to see you at all.
Yes, sir.
She doesn't want to come to Utah, and if you want to see her, you're going to have to come here. And you understand that in the prior hearing that we had, she was resistant to, I think at that time, driving the long distances and that you were driving a lot at that point, if I recall correctly. And she was objecting to having to take those long trips to Utah. Now, if she is resistant to the idea of coming out there according to your schedule, is it your desire to force that issue and to make her come anyway?
I would love to have time with her. I did say that if she wants to go to the camp in Memphis, I'll see that she gets there, and I'll pay her way. It's, there's no, she's going to be 16. She doesn't want to come out here. That's not an issue that I really want to force.
Well, that's the as a parent of children and myself, and having parented some teenagers, my concern is, and having done this for a long time too, on both sides of the bench, my concern is forcing your 16-year-old, and I'm just going to treat her as 16 because she's almost there, to come out there according to your schedule, and ordering that to take place may do more harm to your relationship than actually improving the relationship, if you understand what I'm saying. 16 years old, you take a child out of 16, she's got friends, she's got activities, not just these scholastic activities or extracurricular activities. She's got friends that she hangs with, I'm sure, as a 16-year-old. And I'm just wondering how she's going to feel about being told she's got to go out there for a 4-week period and be away from all of those friends and family. So I just want you to think about it from that term. I'm not asking you to really have that solution. The solution is you both live here in the same area and you have your regular visitation. Your move to Utah, which is great for your profession, has not been so great for this court's ability to ensure that you have a parenting schedule that's the same as what you had before. And therein, in the middle of this scenario lies your daughter, who is the one that's being affected by whether or not we send her out to Utah every other week during the summer. I said at the last hearing, if I recall correctly, that I've been to Utah. It's a beautiful place, and I think she would benefit by spending time out there. But it's a question of how do we arrange that so that she is the least, she is not negatively impacted. All right, I'm sorry, do you have anything else, Ms. Roman?
Just a couple questions, Judge. Mr. Wells, before you moved to Utah, where did you live?
I lived in Kingston Springs.
And where did the minor child live?
She was living in Johnson City.
And how far away was that hour-wise?
That
No, where Johnson City is. It's about a 4-hour drive.
Is it about a 4? Honestly, Judge, I still don't know. So it's about a 4-hour drive. Is that correct?
it depending on traffic in Knoxville pushes it out to 5.
So when you used to do your summer schedule, you were driving about 4 or 5 hours to pick up the minor child, drive her back to Kingston Springs?
Yes.
So she's always been traveling back and forth long periods of time.
That is correct.
That's all, Judge.
All right. Okay, Mr. Frakes, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wells. Mr. Rosen, you have anything else you want to offer? Any other proof?
No, Judge, that's all.
Mr. Frakes, do you have any proof you wish to offer?
All right, I'd ask to be able to call the minor child Ella Wells.
All right. When she comes in to testify, just don't put the camera on. Mr. Wells, we live stream all of our proceedings on YouTube, and we do not ever show a child that testifies, and so as a result, we're going to cut the camera and the audio feed, I think, to well, you'll have to have the audio feed so that you can hear what she says, but we're not going to show her on camera. So
Thank you, Judge.
come on up here. We ask you to come around here.
This way?
Oh, we are over here? Sorry. Go that way. Yeah.
Would you state your name, please?
My name is Ella Wells.
And Ella, how old are you currently?
I'm 15 years old. I turned 16 on May the 23rd.
Okay, and after May 23rd, you intend to get a driver's license soon thereafter?
Yes.
You already have a vehicle?
Yes.
Are you wanting to go to spend the majority of the summer or half of the summer this year with your father and you?
No.
Okay, just let me ask the questions and take your time to think about it, then answer. What are you wanting to do this summer? What do you have planned?
I have 2 camps. I have an art camp and a computer science camp, as well as a mock trial workshop in Tennessee, is what I have planned so far.
How long have these events been planned?
About a month. The first 2 are tentative, but the mock trial camp is definite.
Okay, when is the last time you spent an extended period of time in Utah with your father?
The week that I spent over Christmas break.
Okay, and during that week, was your father home the majority of the time?
Likely no. I didn't leave my room for most of the time because of their dog.
What did you do when you were in Utah for that week?
Very little, honestly. We went out to a few events with my grandmother, but otherwise almost nothing.
Okay, are you willing, or you don't get to choose, but if you had your choice, would you be willing to go to Utah for a period of time during the summer months?
I don't ever want to go back.
You wouldn't even agree to spend 1 week per month in June and July with your father in Utah if you could spend the remainder of the time in Tennessee?
If I had my choice, I wouldn't want to.
How are your grades currently?
I believe I have a 4.0 A's in every subject so far as I'm aware.
And when are you scheduled to take the ACT?
I believe June 8th. I don't know the exact date, but it's either June 8th or possibly 9th.
And if you don't go to Utah for the summer, what will you be doing while you're in the state of Tennessee?
I'll be able to catch up with my speech and debate group and be able to actually make plans over the summer. My robotics team concentrates most of their time designing and building the robots in the summer, so I'll be able to take a more active role in that. The Quiz Bowl team is likely going to rehearse, and I'm slated to fill in as captain next year, so that would be really important to me, and I'll be able to do those 3 camps here.
And are you willing to spend time with your father if he comes to the state of Tennessee?
If I have to, yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Rosen, you have your question?
Just a few, Judge. Should be quick.
Hi, Ella.
Hi.
Ella, is it true that when you were in Utah, you went ice skating with your dad, correct?
Yes, he asked what I would choose.
Ella, that's it. You went to a New Year's Eve party, correct?
With my grandmother, like I stated.
You went to Christmas dinner?
With my family, with my grandmother, as I stated.
You went to the Drifters show?
With my grandmother and for my grandmother, as stated.
You went out to do dinners, correct? Other dinners other than just Christmas and New Year's Eve?
I'm trying to remember. I believe so, but likely again with my grandmother.
So you did do activities while you were in?
I said very few, I didn't say no.
But you went out, correct? You weren't just in your room the whole time?
I never denied that. I said I spent the majority of my time in my room. I never denied that.
That's all, Judge.
You know, Ella, I've talked to you before about this situation, and we talked about the fact that I have to enforce the law in the state of Tennessee. And whether you like it, whether I like it, whether your mother likes it, or whether your dad likes it, I have the responsibility to ensure that the law in the state of Tennessee, I'm sorry, I'm going to look through these legs there. I get the sense that you're angry about this situation. Would that be fair?
This was nothing I chose.
This was what?
This was nothing I chose. This is nothing I would want.
I know. And when you say this is nothing you chose, you're talking about the dispute between your mom and dad and the divorce, or just being here to testify?
No, I'm talking about the visitation. I
The
didn't
visitation.
choose this. I never wanted to go see him.
Okay. And you're not wanting to go see him, is that because you don't have a good relationship with him, or is it because of the fact that that's the distance and the situation?
We've never had a good relationship. He's never really been present physically there, but he's been either absent with work or just straight up cruel when he was there.
Now, you understand that I may have to put an order down that you don't like. You understand that? And you're gonna have to be mad at me about that. Not mad at your father, not mad at your mother. You need to be mad at me about it.
I
right?
understand it's not your fault.
No, it is my fault. I'm the one who has to make these decisions. So what I'd rather you be mad at me than to be mad at one of your parents. Because I have to do what I think is right. And that may not be what either one of your parents thinks is the right thing. And it may not be what you think. But you're 16, and unfortunately at 16, we don't always get to choose what we want to do. We have preferences, we have things we want to do, but we're not always allowed to do them. I wanted a Corvette when I was 16. I didn't get it. I got a Volkswagen Beetle to drive on the weekends when my brother was home from college.
That's actually my dream car, so I think you're pretty lucky.
But in any event, what I'm telling you though is that, you know, at 16, we don't get to pick and choose things like we do when we're 18 or 19 or 20. I want you to be involved in your robotics team. I want you to be able to do the things you do. Now tell me about, let's say that you had to go see your dad, but not for half the summer. But would you rather do it like in one trip out there and then be done with that? And if he wanted to come see you, he'd have to come to Johnson City, or
How long would that one trip be? A week? 3
Well, it
weeks?
just depends. Either side have any questions for Ella?
No, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Thank you, Ella. You can go ahead and step outside if you'd like. So, well, we will hopefully not ever have to see you again except under better circumstances, okay? What other proof, Mr. Frakes?
Mother has no further proof, Your Honor. She closes.
Any rebuttal proof?
No, Judge.
I'm going to take a short recess and look over these schedules that have been proposed in the original parenting plan, and then I'll come back and give you my ruling. So.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
We're back on the record in the Wells versus Wells. There is never any easy decision to be made in cases where you have teenage children, especially where there seems to be some estrangement between Mr. Wells and the young lady. we had hearings in this case before in which she has testified, and I'm impressed. She's a very intelligent young girl, and she is a very strong-willed young lady, it appears to me. She obviously has some anger and hostility about being brought into the situation between her parents. And I can't blame her for that. In a perfect world, parents would cooperate, and even if Mr. Wells had to move to another location, there would be some encouragement. But according to her testimony, she's not had a particularly close relationship with Mr. Wells because he's always working and so forth. So balancing the situation as best I can, what we have in this situation is a prior order of the court that was not addressed in the emergency temporary restraining order to modify the summer visitation. And under that original order, they would have alternating weeks. But since there is a relocation by Mr. Wells to the state of Utah, and we dealt with some of that transport issues at that prior hearing in Ashland City, it becomes an issue for the court as to whether or not it is in this child's best interest to enforce the same order that was there, or to put down some sort of alternate order that might accommodate some visitation with Mr. Wells, albeit maybe not the same visitation. So both sides are actually asking for me to modify the prior order, but it's just a question of Mr. Wells doesn't want to lose any time, and he wants to have additional time with his daughter. And Mr. Wells has a ways to go to repair his relationship with his daughter, it seems to me, from what I have heard in both this hearing and the last hearing that we had. So the biggest objection that I'm hearing from this young lady is that the length of time that she's taken out of her community, where she and her friends and her school activities and her robotics classes, where she works on projects and so forth. So to accommodate that, I'm going to order that Mr. Wells will have an opportunity to have her come to the state of Utah. That will occur during the first period of the first time of the first part of the summer. And unless it's otherwise agreed, he will have her beginning June the 9th for a period of 4 days. And I'm shortening that period because that's one of the main concerns she had. So she'll fly out there to Utah and she'll spend 4 days with Mr. Wells. Mr. Wells needs to arrange his time off from work to be there for her. If you're ever going to have a good relationship with her, you're going to have to utilize that time. If you were living here and it was a day in, day out thing, yeah, you go to work like everybody else does and you spend time. That's part of being a parent. But your situation is unique in that you live in another state. She's having to come out there and then she sits in a room, according to her, having no interaction with anyone else there at the home. So we're basically taking her out of her normal relationship and putting her in a bedroom at your home while you're at work. And that is not, in this court's opinion, the best interest of the child. But neither do I feel like that a 16-year-old should be able to dictate how often she sees her father and so forth. So I'm going to allow Mr. Johnson to have an additional 2 weeks during the summer in Johnson City, Tennessee. And those need to be coordinated to where he can make sure that he can get her to those activities. My desire is not to punish Mr. Johnson, but if he can make his schedule arrange to have a couple of weeks of vacation during the summer, then that's what he needs to do. We have a motion down that has been filed by the mother in this case to modify the prior order of the court, and that I see has been set for July 29th by notice. So obviously this is something that we may have to deal with again in July in Ashland City. But for the moment, that's, to my knowledge, it's not a perfect situation, and I may grant him some additional visitation in July when we come back for that hearing. But right now, I think giving her an opportunity to come out to Utah and spend a few days when he is available, for a shorter period of time, taking her away is better than having the every other week or the 4 weeks that he wants. It doesn't have anything to do with Mr. Wells being a good parent or a bad parent. It has to do with you've got a 16-year-old who, if forcing a 16-year-old to go against her will to sit out there is not going to, in my opinion, rehabilitate your relationship. It's going to make it worse. So giving you a shorter period, but at your home, that you can be there, seems to me to be that. Now, he can also, the parties can agree on any additional other alteration to that order. But absent the order, he'll exercise 2 additional weeks in addition to that June 9th to the, I guess it would be June 9th through the 13th. And the travel days can be discounted from that. In other words, if they need to add a day on for travel, they can do that for that 4-day period. I want him to have 4 days with her in Utah rather than 7 days. And then the 2 weeks that'll be in Johnson City, you folks can pick those days and work it out. I think Mr. Wells is going to need time with his employment to work that out. And I would think surely to goodness you all can come up with an agreement for that. If you cannot, then you can get back with me and we'll schedule another Zoom hearing if necessary for me to make an arbitrary decision. And neither of you may like that. I'm reserving the issue of modifying the schedule further. If we have a hearing in July, I'm going to determine whether or not he gets some additional time. Now, obviously, if he can have a weekend or two and before that July 29th, then he may be able to have some additional time around when he comes to court in July. Maybe you can schedule one of those weeks for when he's going to be there for the court anyway. So, but the best I can do at this situation with the testimony of this young woman and Mr. Wells, I again tell you that this doesn't have anything to do with you being a bad parent. It has to do with forcing a 16-year-old who's adamant about not wanting to come at all and trying to give you a time with your daughter that is in the best advantage for you to try to rehabilitate your relationship. So that's the order of the court, and I'll ask that Mr. Frakes, since it would have seemed to me that he would be the prevailing party on this particular situation, Mr. Frakes needs to draft the order.
Judge, also just to confirm, those 2 weeks, they don't need to be consecutive or they need to be consecutive weeks
They'll
in the
be
summer?
non-consecutive weeks.
Non-consecutive.
So that, and I only do that because of the desires of the young lady to, and Mr. Frakes will, Mr. Wells will need to make sure that when those weeks occur, he either schedules them around her activities or he gets her to those activities.
Okay.
Or being a parent, getting her children to and from everything they've got to do, so.
And then so we've got June 9th to June 13th, but then 2 travel days won't count, correct?
Well, in my opinion, she doesn't want to be gone from home for 7 days. So we're not giving her 2 travel days, I'll give 1 travel day. So she'll have 4 days there and 1 travel day to or from, but that's how, part of that 4 days will be travel, 1 day extra will be for travel return.
Thank you, Judge.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts below. I want to hear what you think about this. As always, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.